Hi, I'm Rob Ivers, Certification Director and the Authorized Training and Certification Provider for SGIA's PDAA. Today, I'm going to demonstrate how to pass the PDAA Acrylic Test. The test is given with 2 mil cast vinyl, computer cut type vinyl with a pre-mask. It's a solid rectangle, about 44 by 92 inches. A lot of people are into wraps today and work only with air-egress vinyl. PDAA believes to be consider yourself good enough to be master certified, you need to be able to handle all kinds of vinyl with or without air egress in a lot of different situations. This test was originally one of the easier tests when none of the vinyl had air egress and people were doing corrugations and wraps with non-air egress material. Today, for some people that have only started since air egress was invented and don't work much with non-air egress vinyl, this is now one of the more difficult tests. So I'm going to go through a deal and show you how it works and how easy you can do it, and the techniques I teach you will help you with almost every piece of vinyl you put on that's difficult, aggressive, or in hot weather situations. Hi, my name is Rob Ivers. I'm the certification and training provider for SGIA PDAA. I'm going to demonstrate how to take the acrylic test. It's a portion of the basic certification test and also the master certification test. Cleaning off a piece of acrylic, plexiglass if you will. Very important part of the process to make sure you get all the contaminants off so there's nothing underneath your vinyl that can cause bubbles or any kind of imperfection that might cause you to fail the test. As you can see, it doesn't take very long to clean acrylic using a technique that is the approved PDAA technique, which is using 2 rags in a bucket instead of 1 rag and a spray bottle or paper towel. And this allows you to clean with one hand, scrub it off with the wet block, and then remove all the contaminants on the dirty rag rather than just spreading them around evenly across the surface. Before bringing the graphic over here, I'm going to make myself some tape pieces. You don't have to do it this way, but pretty smart way to do it. What I actually do is fold the tape under a little bit so that the ends don't stick. That allows me to take my tape on and off quite easily. I'm going to kind of position these in a strategic place. I'm going to start out with 1 in each corner of the graphic. So there's my 4 corner pieces. And I'm going to make me a couple for the extra ones as well. Very wise to have your tape ready before you bring your graphic over. Otherwise you'll get here and have nowhere to go with it. The other thing I'm going to do is go ahead and mark it. Before I get the graphic over here and have to mess with all that, I'm going to go ahead and make some marks. I know my graphic is 44 by 92. So I'm going to put some marks on here to get things ready to center up. So it's going to give me 2 inches on each end. And I'm going to come right below these bolts here at about 2 inches down. So I'm going to give myself a couple of marks, 1 in the middle and 1 on each end. Line up on and check myself for center. These on the side as well. Any preparation work you can do like this to make your graphic application go a lot smoother and stress-free. Now here's the test graphic, and it's made of a 2 mil cast vinyl with pre-mask. So I'm going to go ahead and get this part ready and hit my 2 marks that I made on this end. Get my tape ready. Kind of find the side mark and the top mark. And I always check this again later with the tape measure. This will help me get it real close the first time without having to struggle. I hit this blue mark right here. You'll notice my other blue mark is perfect. I might not have to struggle at all. It's a really nice thing, okay? Second thing you want to do is get these corners real smooth and tight. Most important part about a big graphic like this is not letting it get in any kind of a bind. Now, I've watched a lot of guys pass this test and a lot of guys fail it. The ones that pass, the smart money, go in and double check themselves Make sure they've got all the slack out of that graphic. Having it taped in the middle prior to this is a big no-no. And also running your tape in a different direction doesn't make it as easy to pull it tight like I just showed you there. Now that I've got it anchored where I want it, you go ahead and add a couple other pieces of tape here to make this a little easier later. They're going to be an extra set of hands for me holding the graphic. And you notice what I do is I smooth it onto the vinyl and then again put a little bit of tension before I tack it down. Same thing here, onto the vinyl, then the tension. Alright, I've got this graphic almost ready to go. Now one thing I'm going to do is let the paper pass through here. I'm going to take it off a little bit at a time, not all at once on this plexiglass because it's very aggressive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this tape across the top edge in such a way that it's not blocking the end like it is now. So the way I had it first was much better for getting a position. Now that these are holding it solid, this is going to make it easier for me to install the graphic and may prevent me from having to stop and move these at a really critical juncture. Right, this is almost a perfect starting point. These two are a little close together and these are a little far apart, but I've got these bolts holding it on the wall, so I'm kind of having to deal with that. I've already got marks here, so I'm going to go ahead and take this out of my way to get the application part. I'm going to go ahead and fill in this difference here. It's possible to have too much tape and it just gets in your way later, but it's not very hard to take it off, and I'd rather start with too much, be on the safe side. I've got a couple of options here. I can either fold this back and under, I can cut it off, I can crease it, several different ways to do it. The way I usually like to do it is peel off quite a bit of it, but I'm not going to let hardly any of it touch. Probably actually enough, but I'm going to crease it, but not real tight. Doing that because I want the graphic to lay totally tight. If I leave it rolled underneath there, I might have it sticking out further at the top than the bottom, and that could cause a problem. So what I do is just lightly pull it over here to my mark, there, and then down here at the bottom, I'm pulling at that same 45 angle, tack that, and then a little tension in the middle since it's so tall. Now what I'm going to do is actually remove just a little bit more paper, so I've got a nice smooth starting point. I want that area that I'm going to start at not to be right at the edge and be nice and smooth with no puckers and no problems. And then I'll just lightly snap this up before it has time to stick and squeegee this in down. Do all that right, I should get a good starting point. And now, I don't want to let it sit there forever, but if I keep some tension on it, that curvature of the paper keeps it from touching down here and allows me to kind of work at my own pace. I don't have to be in a hurry. The trick to this is not letting the vinyl take control. You do not want it to sag and touch. If it does that, it's going to start sticking and cause pre-tack and bubbles. And you're going to fight it all the way down. So you only want to take a little bit at a time off. Usually I pull it up for about 2 or 3 strokes. So 8 to 10 inches. You may want to take a little bit less. Another thing you can do is you can keep your hand on here to give it a little bit of tension if you need to. And you can also undo this tape anytime you want and tension it a little bit more. The key though is to not squeegee right on top of your where you've peeled to. You want to leave yourself about a squeegee's width. It makes it a lot easier to keep going. Now my paper is over to here, and you'll see how I'm keeping it nice and straight. So now I have to actually take some more tape out of my way. I don't have to take it off the top and the bottom. I can just take it off the bottom. What I can do is peel a little bit more here, keep that thing lined up good. So it's just a matter of peeling a little bit as you go, working from the middle up and down, smooth, firm strokes. Stop about a squeegee's width away from there. Whenever this tape gets in your way, move it out of the way and make sure you get it out of your way so you're not squeegeeing the vinyl on top of it. Okay, so I'm good for another couple strokes there. I'm not telling you that you won't get any bubbles at all with this technique. You may get a few. But chances are, once you learn to control this technique and work with it, you won't get hardly any. And you can just do this for almost any kind of vinyl. And it's not the fastest way to install some products. But for me, it's the most risk-free way to put on vinyl. So even if I'm outside, even if it's really, really hot, even if there's a little bit of wind, even if it's a really aggressive vinyl product, this particular technique has served you well over the years, and I hope it will you too. The reason for this being, as part of our Master Certification Test curriculum, we try to devise a test that can be done indoors, so we don't have to worry about weather and rain, but is about the hardest thing that a guy would ever have to do on a flat surface indoors. And because the plexiglass and acrylic is a high energy surface, makes the vinyl stick quite aggressively. Consequently, it's probably almost as hard to do this inside as it would to do an aluminum trailer outside on maybe a 90-degree day. So that's why I prepared this video, to help some of you folks that have never worked with non-air ingress materials very much learn some really great techniques that will serve you really well in the future. You notice I just keep this tension on. I never let that vinyl sag and touch. If I do, it's going to cause me problems. And I said that, and right there I think I actually did do what I said I didn't want to do. So I'm going to give it a quick light snap and continue on. And once I've got it off of the surface like this completely, I'm going to try to get it taped back on. You notice how I keep trying to line my paper up with the edge so it's not sticking out. I can also come in here and trim off some of this excess so it's not such a hassle. So, pretty simple technique. What it amounts to is controlling the vinyl, not letting it touch the surface until your squeegee makes contact and pushes out all the air as it applies the vinyl. A little tricky to get started, and it's actually a little tricky at the end. So you just have to be good, and you have to pay attention. When you get close enough to, sometimes it's good to support the middle section here too. The top and bottom will support your, the tape will support the top and bottom. But I only got one bubble, so I'm just going to leave it, and we'll poke it out later. Or I could have snapped it up. Can't always snap it up with acrylic. It depends on the kind of material you're using. So I'll just leave it and show you how to get rid of it. Taking this all the way off too soon can be a little bit of a problem. But I'm not going to bother to put my tape back on. Just going to hold it right in the middle with one hand and squeegee to it. Taking it off a little bit at a time like that. Notice how I always start from the middle. A lot of people make the mistake of going from top to bottom and bottom to top, and kind of binds up the vinyl and doesn't work very well. So this technique of going from the middle, up and down, will serve you real well until you get to the very end. At the very end, you probably want to switch directions and go sideways, since there's not much to hold on to, and you can go pretty smooth and quick with your squeegee low and flat like this. You're going to peel the pre-mask at a 180-degree angle, keeping it flat on itself, not pulling away. Which in this case can tend to flex the plexiglass and break it. But in most situations, the reason you want to do this so you're not causing the vinyl to lift up and pull away from the surface at all. rid of these so we can see what we got. Now, I got that one big bubble we knew about, some small ones. They don't take very long to get rid of. Just a quick poke and right at the edge, push the air out. No wrinkles anywhere, which is awesome, because a wrinkle will cause you to fail the test. I'm right on my mark still, so we did good on the positioning. Alright, the last thing I'm going to do is fix that spot we looked at up at the top there, where it wasn't squeegeed well, and it pulled away when I was taking off the pre-mask. And this bubble here, so let me grab some heat and I'll fix that real quick. I got two additional tools this time, a torch, and I also grabbed a squeegee with a cover on it, so I can squeegee this vinyl with no mask without ripping it or hurting it. And watch how easy I can repair that little stretched area with a little bit of heat. Doesn't take much, just enough to take the stretch out, make it go back to its original unstretched shape, and also a good demonstration of the memory in vinyl. This particular bubble here is kind of a problem. I don't know if I skipped a stroke or what, but it's a big, big bubble. If you try to poke all that air out of there at once, too fast, you're going to cause some problems. So pretend like it's a lake and come in at a low angle like this and put, a couple different holes, real small and tiny around the outside edge, and then let some of that air diffuse out those holes. Don't try to push it away right now. You might even want to use a little bit of heat on it to help soften it up like that, and then just go slow and give that air time to flow out. Alright? The last thing you need to do is re-squeegee all the edges after you get your bubbles poked. So you want to go around the whole edge. If you go this way, you can't miss any. Whereas if you go this way, you might skip over something. So go the direction of the seam or the edge. That way you won't miss a single thing. You do it with a covered or protected squeegee like a felt squeegee or a Velcro, or in this case I've got a nylon cover on my squeegee. And then the last thing is to clean off your fingerprints and marks, etc. So I'm going to come in here and clean off my blue marks. Again, you can see that mark is right there. It's perfectly lined up with my original mark. So I'm going to come in and get the any stuff from the pre-mask off these edges, get my marks. Check that first because that's usually the area that needs it the most. And then I'm going to give a final wipe to this graphic just to get rid of my fingerprints and smudges. Well, I hope you enjoyed my demonstration, and now you know what it takes to get PDAA Master Certified on the acrylic test. There's of course a lot of other tests in our process as well. But since this is the only one that's given nowadays with the non-air-egress vinyl, I wanted to give you a few pointers, and I hope they help you and hope all your installations go well. For all your training needs, keep me in mind, www.robivers.com. Thanks, and take care.